Hello, it's Deborah from the Attic, and today I want to share with you these dies. These are from a new brand, Paper Discovery, and this is a brand by Olga Direktorenko, and I have been a fan of her work since I found her YouTube channel about 2 years ago. So when I heard that she'd released her own brand, Paper Discovery, I was absolutely thrilled. And when CraftStash asked me if I'd like to work with her products, I said, yes, please. These dies are exclusively available from CraftStash, and I've checked on your behalf, and they do ship globally. Full details of how you can get free delivery and 20% off your first order are below this video. Today I'm going to be working with the Rim Divider die set, and although this says it has 4 dies in it, actually it has 6 if you include the outer frames. There are 2 of these. One has a scalloped edge and one has a straight edge, and you can use them to cut out the detail dies, and you can also layer them up like this. And you can choose all kinds of different colour matches to go with the background or the detail piece that you cut out of the front. To make our first lantern, I'm using this straight-sided die with the 2 little feet at the bottom. And the way I've done it is I've cut it from black card. I've run it through my die cutter in this way. I've put all the elements in place, run it through my die cutter, and this is how it comes out with the lattice work cut from the centre of the footed die piece. Then I took just the frame and the lattice piece and I cut it from gold mirror card. I've made sure that I've folded in that little side tab because we'll use that for gluing later on. And right now I'm going to glue the gold piece onto the black piece. The way that I'm using the glue is by adding very fine little dots all around. It looks like it's a continuous line, but actually it's little dots. If you break it up like that, there's less risk that you're going to get glue splodging everywhere from your project. I can layer up my gold lattice work now on top, and to hold everything in place while the glue dries, I'm going to use one of my stamp blocks. Once everything is dry, I'm going to add one of these pieces of transparent paper. This is just normal tracing paper, and I've cut it down using the outer die, just the plain frame. I'm using a mixture of liquid glue and instant tack glue on the inside of my lantern side, and I'm going to glue this piece into position and hold it down again. And this is how they all look when they're finished. I'm going to work on this very nasty yellow paper. It makes it a little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing, and it protects my desk. I'm adding instant tack glue down the side of the fold that is used for attaching everything all together. I'm gluing the 2 pieces together and then folding it in half and just pinching it along the side. That will give you a nice sharp edge. And I'm going to do the same with all of the rest of those side tabs. I'm going to glue all 5 pieces together. And this is how it will look from the top. You can see how beautifully those 5 sides come together. I want to add some fancy frou-frou to our lantern, so I have some Nouveau Crystal drops. These ones are called Caramel Cream, and I'm going to add them down the centre of each panel where the lattice intersects. And when these are dry, our lantern is complete. I'll show you at the end how you can light these up. Our next lantern has been cut from black card using the wobbly fancy footed die and the rather pretty leafy die in the centre. I've got a rubber glove on because I'm going to add gilding wax to this black card. The gilding wax I'm using is Pebeo Empire Gold. This is going to look as if I am just rubbing gold onto a piece of black card, but trust me, when it's finished it gives a really impressive metallic look. All the pieces are covered, and now I'm going to take my cloth and just buff up the pieces. This has 2 uses. It gets rid of any excess gilding wax and it gives things a nice sheen. With this lantern we're doing 4 pieces, so I have cut out 4 pieces of corresponding normal thin little transfer paper. Of course, if you have nice parchment, you can use that instead. I'm using transfer paper because I think it's the sort of thing you might have more readily available to you. I'm adding very thin dots of glue again to the outside and then just on the inside of some of those flowers. And we're working from the reverse, so this transfer paper is going to appear on the inside of the lantern when everything is complete. I'm going to use my block again to hold that down while the glue dries, and I'm going to move on to my next panel. When they're all complete, I'm going to use my bone folder to fold over the tabs where I'll be gluing all 4 pieces together. I hope you can see the difference that the gilding wax makes to the plain black cardboard. It really does make it look as if it has a metallic finish. To complete this lantern, I'm going to add Nouveau Jewel Drops. The colour that I'm using this time is Strawberry Coulis, and I'm going to add little dots of colour into the centre of the flowers, and when they're dry, this lantern is finished. Moving on to our final lantern, I'm going to cut out 3 pieces this time of the footed room dividers. It's difficult to know what to call these, but these large pieces. I'm cutting out 3 this time. We're going to have a triangular lantern. And I've used the plain rectangular frame die to cut out the centre of each of these. I've taken some transfer paper and I've folded it into 4 pieces. I want to show you that this is not good for cutting out the transfer paper because it will be too small to glue inside that frame. So I've used a metal frame to just run a pencil line around to give me a rough idea of how I need this to be sized up, and then I'm using the plain white one that I cut down earlier to give me a proper guide so I know exactly where I can add my pencil line and then cut down so that this will fit perfectly within the borders of that large white piece without hanging over the edges. I've run a glue line around the inside. We're working on the reverse again, as you can tell from the tab that's on the left hand side, and I've glued that into position. Now these are the 2 paper discovery die sets that we're going to be using to build our own scene. I've cut myself a selection of these dies from the waste paper that was taken away from the centre of these panels. And I'm going to show you how we're going to build our scene on each of these. The tabs are important to keep an eye on here. So if they're on the right hand side, that means that we're working with the panels facing out the way. If the tabs are on the left hand side, it means I'm working on the inside of the panel. I'm going to line some of these dies up and use my pencil just to mark out where I need to cut them, because I need to be very careful that my glue is all on the frame of the panel. I don't really want to get any glue onto my tracing paper because then it will show through. I want to try and keep everything contained as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to glue the church to this little hill, and my hill has been cut down wide enough so that I can glue that onto the inside of my panel. We're creating a sort of a shadow effect from the inside out. You do need to be quite organised in your mind to do this, but I hope I'm going to make it simple for you. I do tend to have an organised mind. I even sleep in the recovery position. You just never know. Here's some glue going on the inside. You can tell it's the inside because the tab is on the left of this panel. So the glue is going on the inside. And I'm going to turn my picture over because we're working reverse ways, and I'm going to glue that down into position. And that's how it looks from the front. I'm going to use the same method to add the branches, so I'll make sure that my branches stretch from one side of the frame to the other, and luckily all of the branches are long enough to enable you to do this, and then simply cut off the excess. The birds are nice and easy. You can glue the birds on the reverse of the panel on the reverse of the branches, and I hope that makes sense. So that's how my 3 panels all look, and I'm moving on to my nasty yellow background paper to protect my desk as I add the glue line down the tabs, which are now on the right hand side, and glue the whole piece together. This could be adapted for a wedding, so you could have the church appearing in each of the panels, or it could be adapted for Christmas, and you could add little dots of snow or maybe some Nouveau drops in a nice crystal colour into the top of the frame so that it gives it a nice festive feel. Now I said that I was going to show you how you can light these from the inside because they are lanterns after all, but they are paper. I use battery operated pretend candles that have a little flickering light. I have loads of these because I use them a lot at Christmas time, and when it's dark and cosy, these will give a real joyful little flicker of light through your lantern. I'm going to say thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching as always. I'm going to leave you with some close-ups of all the lanterns that we've made today along with a little music, and until we meet again, take care.